Yeah, Jamaica, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Jamaica, hello.
Bros, I can hear you. Where's everybody?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Bros, I can hear you. Where's everybody?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. We're just trying to set everything up for the program to kick off right now. A little bit of, but there's echo. Yes, I know. I noticed the echo. I've tried to take it out. I will plead with you to just manage the best of what we can bring into this program today, because I'm far away from my usual studio where I would normally do this. Thank you, Mr. Solomon Alabi, for joining us. We're gonna do our best today to ensure that we maximize the moment and bring the program to you as much as we can. Today's session also will be as interesting, will also be as instructive like the other ones that we've always had. Okay, so we started last week, and just 1 second, I need to share this to people who are probably waiting for the link. They always wait for the link every weekend, and the link doesn't change. So I assume people should know that this is where to get us, but some people say asking for the link, so I usually want to post it. So to send it across. And please, and if you can also help us to share the link, you can also share it so that other people can actually get it. Please, I want to apologize well in advance for whatever disturbance you might be hearing from the noise and all of that. I am very much far away from the studio we would normally use. So this is like an ad hoc studio that I'm using today for broadcasting. And then I am actually trying to use the restaurant of a program. I'm coming for a conference. I've been in this conference since yesterday, and I'm not going to be out of here till tomorrow. And so that is why you might be hearing a few distractions here and there. Okay, so we will start today. But before then, I want to do a kind of a recap, especially as regards where we left off last week. We're talking, the subject is on IVF, pregnancies, how to get pregnant, IVF, cesarean section, and what have you. Last week, what we did was to lay a foundation to also debunk the myth, especially that which has to do with people believing that without there is a set way that is perceived that conception and childbirth has to be. A lot of people will stigmatize the woman who is actually put to bed through what they call aided means or assisted delivery. And I said this last week that there is no delivery that is not assisted. There is no delivery that is not assisted. There is always be an assistance, like a help provided in every delivery. And so we were able to talk about those stigma. And then last week also, we did give you a rundown of the things you should, the things you need to look out for when choosing your primary health care provider, excuse me, especially if you are looking and considering a place where you want to put to bed. There are so many things going on out there, and we highlighted a few things you want to look out for. So if you did miss that episode of last week, my advice is that you go back to it and then watch it all over again. I was not the only person here who spoke last week. There were about 3 other gang members who actually spoke and talked about the things to look out for. Again, I want to believe that the things you learn and hear from us are time-tested, people proven. We are not reading things from the textbooks. Whatever we talk about are things that are people proven. So some of the things they shared last week were from personal experiences, and then we could gather them and use them as well effectively. Today's program is going to be focused on how to get pregnant, how to get into pregnancy. I understand that a whole lot of people are having this challenge. Pregnancy is more like, I mean, of course, we've seen the stories we are hearing all over. After the show that we had yesterday, some other stories also went on the social media about this, what is called the cryptic pregnancies. And that is a case where some fertility clinics would extort money from people who are desperate to have a child, and they begin to inject them with hormones. And while they are doing that, side by the side, they have teenagers who are already pregnant, whose time of pregnancy would likely coincide with the expected delivery date that they would have given to the couples who are desperate to have a child, and they've been pumping hormones into them. And now that is going all over. So the problem of getting pregnant is a very broad one. And then what I always do is to try as much as I can to provide solution where necessary. I would, again, I know what it means to wait. I could understand what it means when people actually wait, or when they are waiting. Waiting in this process talks about they are looking up to God for the fruit of the womb. Before I got married, my intention, actually, my plan and my desire is just to have one child. I don't intend or plan to have more than a child. But even this one child, I remember that after some months, the mother of my kids had to call me, wake me up in the middle of the night. So I woke up and said she wasn't sleeping. And then I was like, why are you not sleeping? Why are you up? And then she began to we've been married for 3-4 months. She's not pregnant. I said, I thought we agreed that we are not even going to have any child till after a year. I mean, at least we should be able to enjoy ourselves, learn ourselves more before talking about having a child. But she was like, no. All right. So you never told me the agenda has changed. So I knew what it is, but I thought I'd just go to bed. Don't worry. That should be a problem. So have a child, we'll produce one in no time. And as God would have it, God gave us a child. We have our first son. I think almost the next following month, the preceding month, our first son came. And, I've also had to see couples who had to wait longer than 3 months. That's just 3 months or 4 months of waiting. I know people who have been waiting for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years. The desperation can be a lot, especially if it's your desire to have a child. It's a different ball game if you choose not to. There are people who are opting out of having children. Of course, I tell people that there are many children in the world. As a matter of fact, my belief is that you should look around you and try to extend love to those kids who are out there. There are many kids out there. There are those whose parents have given up because they do not think they have the capacity whatsoever to take care of these children. The world can be a better place when we show these children love, because as they grow up in an environment of love, we are curing more people of bitterness, and it's going to go a long way. But I understand what it can be for anybody to be in a position of desperation or looking up to God for the fruit of the womb. With me on the show today is Jumoke, and she's the only person who will be joining me on this show today. As usual, she's having some dangerous weapons in her hand. She's having some dear members in her hands that she's using to do some things over there. All right, Joake, you want to say hello to people at home? I'm not sure they heard you. You need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
It's Jumoke Additional, and it's a privilege to be live with Dr. DJ Alabi this afternoon. Where is everybody?
I think they went on sabbatical today. So today, Peace daughter is having a birthday today.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Eniola is in a retreat. The same thing with Aruntu is in a retreat, I think so. You know, I'm also in a conference today right now. I just have to come out of the conference to have this meeting, my badge, participant badge, and I'm going in the moment we are done with this program.
Okay.
You know, so I understand the fact that all of us, everybody is developing or adding to themselves. It's important. Yeah, it's an important part of our self-development, which is very key. All right, so the topic today is how to get pregnant, getting pregnant. And I know that, yeah, you were the one that started this series when you spoke about people's challenges when it comes to their type of delivery, the delivery process. Is it natural or CS and the stigma involved? And that's the reason we are decided to go this route in this month of March. Okay, so what have you seen as one of the most yeah, we know people have challenges getting pregnant. A few people do. But what have you seen as one of the most important critical factor for those who are having this challenge? Probably a reason or a cause. What do you think is the most popular that you have heard or that you have seen? The most common reason, you know, of course, there are many reasons, and I'm going to touch on all of the reasons as much as this program will give us the time to. But what have you seen as to be the most common reasons? I mean, the most common reason when it comes to fertility?
I think for me, from my own experience and from people around me, I haven't really had anyone, except one person, say to me that this is the reason why I cannot have a child. In the case of the ones that are females, it's always been them going to they've already gone to the doctor and the doctor certified them to be okay. But it's always a case of the man saying that there's nothing wrong with me and then not going.
Okay, let's bring it down. So that is, in fact, that is where I wanted us to start from. Yeah. It's always the case of the man saying there is nothing wrong with me. I don't need to go to see a doctor.
Exactly.
And I can guarantee, so I want you to bring out this point because for me, I think it is the most rampant, it is the most common. And the question I usually ask people is that, is it just one person who wants to impregnate or inseminate herself to get pregnant? Why will two people be in a relationship and they are both looking for a child? Sincerely, and I think even the people in the medical practice, they deserve to be, what word do I use right now? I don't want to say the word, they deserve to be corrected. But a woman comes to you and tells you that, I'm trying to conceive. I would believe that the first question is, okay, are you in a relationship? Are you married? How active are you sexually? There are other means to get pregnant. I'm not saying that, well, of course, science is telling us that there are semen donors, sperm donors. So a woman can come to you and may not be married, and she just wants a child. And then she's probably coming to you because she wants a donor. But for somebody who is married, who comes to you that I'm having difficulty getting pregnant, one of the first questions any medical practitioner should ask is, where is your husband? Because it would be stupid to assume that it is only the woman who's got a problem. The question is that the woman is not going to inseminate herself. Unfortunately, this is the truth, and this is statistics. Majority of our men out there are becoming infertile, unknown to them. And there are several levels. I don't want to use the word impotent. I want to use the word sexual dysfunction when it comes to these. So I'm just being careful with the choice of words, because for each of these there are different terminologies and they would mean different things at different levels. For men, there are about 3 areas of the man's life that can go wrong and that could affect his fertility. And for the woman, there are more than about 12 or 13 areas that could go wrong that could affect the fertility of a woman. But the general assumption is that if anything is going wrong at all, it has to be with the health of the woman. And then most doctors will just go mute on looking at the man, checking for the man, trying to know what exactly is wrong. Could it be from the man's perspective? Now, one of the first things I'm going to be saying today is that fertility, like we know, involves 2 people. And so if you're going to do anything about fertility, you shouldn't allow your doctor to be seeing you alone. One of the first things is that yourself and your spouse must carry yourself as a living sacrifice to go see your doctor. If any doctor is treating you without treating your spouse, except they have done every test, and from every test they have done, they've tested your spouse, and they say your spouse is free, as in your spouse has no issue. Until then, can you keep going for further tests without your spouse? But before a proper diagnosis that clears, of a proper test exam that clears your spouse, there is no reason for you visiting your doctor alone without your spouse. And I want to encourage our men out there, guys, a lot of the things that could go wrong with the man can be corrected. A lot of the things. There are only a few things that could go wrong with a man that cannot be corrected. And even at that, we cannot, sciences has made so many, like we were talking last week about this issue of, IVF and CS. There are also other alternatives which you want to actually approach to see whether you want to, engage them, to find a solution to the problem at hand, right? One of the things that I would say is this. When it comes to the issue of fertility, one of the major problems that I've seen is that people just do not, it is a true test. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. It's a true test of whether or not the marriage you have entered to or the relationship you have entered into is built on love and on trust, or you had other reasons for entering into it. Because issues of fertility will test your resolve as regards your relationship. It's going to test your resolve. It's going to test it. That is where you are going to know, when we say we are confessing that for better, for worse, that we don't say it, that we only say for better, in sickness and in health. We don't say in sickness, we say in health and in health. Well, whether you say it or you don't say it, one thing that is sure is that both the man who built his house on the rock and the one who built his house on the sand, both of them, the same thing would happen to both, which is the storms of life. Storms of life don't respect the foundation of your house. The only thing is that the foundation will determine the outcome of the storm. If you have built on the right foundation, after the storm is gone, your house will be standing. If you have built on the wrong foundation, after the storm, you will go and look for your roof. Maybe your roof will be 1,000 kilometers away. Your window will be 1,000,000 miles away. That is what storms of life do. That's why you are seeing, the things. And one of the storms that could blow on the relationship is an issue of fertility. All right. So and for me, like I've been saying, it's a pity I realized not on the program today, because this is another aspect of our own area of expertise. Because I've been saying that most of the healings we are looking for do not actually start with the supplements or with the bottles or with seeing our doctors. Most of these healings, they begin first in our mind. A lot of fertility issues also will not be resolved if there is no peace, if there is no unity in the relationship. You can imagine a spouse that they are fighting today, fighting tomorrow. They are supposed to meet when at a particular time during the circle of the woman. God forbid it is that time that they are having quarrel. They don't meet. That one goes to the room upstairs. The other one goes to the room in the basement. And then they miss the 4 days or the 5-day window where, the chances of getting pregnant is at its peak. Okay, so some of these things will require some emotional solution. It will require some peaceful coexistence between the two people. And like I said, fertility will also test how strong your resolve is as regards your relationship. Okay, all right. So let me go back to it now. So the first thing you want to talk about is seriously call your spouse together, sit down your spouse. This is going to be a serious time for us. Are we going forward or we are going backward? There's no do or die. I still say that there is no do or die. There is no do or die. If you have gotten married for the sake of procreation alone, there are 3 reasons they say they consummate a wedding: for companionship, for procreation. Procreation is one of them, and for recreation. So I think I'm correct. For companionship, for having children, then for recreational purpose, to enjoy the sex part of it. So if you have gotten married for only one out of the 3 reasons, then it could be enough ground to call off that marriage. There is no point, because it could be a long journey. It could be a journey of 2 years, a journey of 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in some cases for some couples. It could be a journey that has no end. All right. So there is no point going on that journey, traveling that journey with somebody who is not genuinely in love with you, or with somebody who has a different agenda. So let's first of all settle the aspect of agenda. What is our agenda? What is the agenda of yourself and your spouse? Are we on the same page? If you are both on the same page, there is no reason the man should not accompany you to see a doctor. When the man is saying you should be the only person going to see a doctor, I think that is the first place to begin to address the issue. Like, you guys are not on the same page. Even, the mother of my kids, I remember all the antenatal and the likes of them, I would make sure that I'm there, I'm present. I was saying that on the show last week. None of my kids were giving birth to in my absence. And I could tell you, it wasn't like I was in town. I will have to make sure I travel back wherever I am. In fact, that was the second one. The doctors were saying, is your husband going to be the one that will take the delivery? She said, yes. They had to wait for me. And I got into the hospital. The moment I got in there, in less than 10 minutes, she gave the final push, and the baby came out right into my hands. It's because you have to be on the same page. If you are not on the same page, there is no agreement between you. You are not going to maximize the care. You're not going to maximize the services that you're going to get from your healthcare professionals. And this is the reason many women that should go for IVF, they stay too long looking for other means, because they never even knew the husband has any issue. And they've been treating the woman on her own, doing several tests, managing the hormones, blah, blah, blah. Then they waste almost 5 years on that one first. After 5 years or 6 years, the man with his strong head will now agree to go and see a doctor. Maybe that is where they will discover he has 0 sperm. No sperm, nothing is working. So now the matter will not be, so now what do we do? It is then IVF will now become a suggestion. What they would have done 5 years ago, what they would have done to solve the matter and move on to the next phase. So getting pregnant it's what do I want to use right now? It's a mutual agreement. It's not something someone agrees to alone or what someone can do on our own. It's something that 2 people must agree to do together. So that point of agreement, I want to hear that out and clear out to them before we go ahead, that we are not just here to begin to push to you medical solutions, natural solutions. But let's talk about the mental health implication. A woman who is under mental stress can never be balanced in her hormones, no matter the hormonal whatever she's using. And once the hormones are distorted, the likelihood of getting pregnant is also reduced. Even if she gets pregnant, the likelihood of having a normal child, when I say a normal child, I mean a normal child, the chances are also reduced. There are women who, after putting to bed, they have this postpartum hypertension, high blood pressure, and they keep dealing with that throughout their lives. Okay, so the peace of the family, the peaceful coexistence in the family cannot be overemphasized. The fact that you have to be on the same page cannot be overemphasized, and this will be the starting point. So, Mr. Man, Mr. Husband, or Daddy Husband, let's call you that, Daddy Husband. Your job is to ensure that you do your own test as well, follow your wife, accompany your wife and run your test. Do your test, ensure that the normal tests are done. And what are those tests that will be done? You want to check your sperm and ensure that the motility is there. The motility will talk about the ability of your sperm to swim. How fast are they swimming? Are they able to swim? Because when you look at the position of the uterus, where fertilization will have to occur, you know, it's a distance, it's a few distance from the vagina to the cervix, where the sperm begins to travel up to the uterus, where the sperm is expected to meet with an egg that is released from your wife for that to happen. So if the motility is not enough, that is, you don't have good swimmers, that can be adjusted. There are things that can be done in terms of diet, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of medications or natural supplements that can help to correct that. That's why I said many things can be corrected. It's not a center that you cannot. The other one is the virility, that is to say that how many viral cells do you produce? There is a way to measure that. And so you might be having sperm. Some people have sex and they release sperm, but the number of viral cells in the sperms, they're not enough. The sperm cells, they are not viral. So there is not, they cannot cause fertilization to occur. So the doctor's lab test will check. And again, please, when you are doing lab tests, don't rely on just one single test from one laboratory and make a conclusion. I always say this, make sure there's a second opinion. When you do your test in one lab, go to another lab and do the test. If a healthcare professional is giving you a verdict, don't take that verdict as final. Go to another place, do another test, compare the two results. If the two results are agreeing as one, then you can confirm, according to the Bible that says, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, the truth will be established. So you have 2 witnesses establishing one truth, that there is a problem somewhere. Then we can now know how do we tackle the problem. And again, there are men, there are issues of men with, of course, if you know that your libido has issues, you will want to quickly do something about this without just pushing your woman out there to go and be the one running a task doing several tests. So that is for the male angle, okay? For the female angle, so that was why I said there is a lot involved on the female angle. And that would take a lot, but I'm going to try as much as possible to just break it down into, into pieces that we can all understand very, very well. Okay, so I'm not with the aid of diagrams. If not, I will have used diagrams, but I won't do that on this show. If you really think you want to get this done, there is a class for that. Nutraceutical-led solutions, we organized a fertility class. We've done one this year. The other one is going to coming up. It will be coming up sometimes later in the year. And in that class, one of the few things I always do is that I want to break down this fertility issue to the barest, that even a layman will understand the process and what is going on. All right. So where do I start from? One of the first things you have to understand is that as a woman, you must know your sexual and reproductive organs, the parts of your body that are responsible for reproduction. Unfortunately, most women do not know that even your skin is a reproductive or sexual organ. Of course, because you respond to touch. And touches also have a way, they have a way of affecting what hormones are released within your system, because at the end of the day, these hormones all come together to determine how receptive is your body to the sperm cells that will be released. And that is why, when you talk about sexual experts, they will tell you the importance of having foreplay. I'm not throwing away the fact that there are women that you've had cases of women who were raped, and then after the act, it became a pregnancy. But it's not every woman whose body can respond and relate that way, and then conception will take place. There are women that, look, if you do not them, I'm trying to mind the word I'm using, maybe there are kids who are watching the program, and you are intimate with them, their system will reject everything that you pump into them. Nothing. Garbage in, garbage out. Why? Because certain hormones that should be secreted to welcome and receive what has been deposited, they were not there. You just got there, you rush the thing, wire, and you are gone. The woman is just still waiting, like, we have not even started this race. This man don't finish. Now, it's important to understand what are those parts of your body that could be responsible for the production of for your sexual health. So I said, your skin, it starts from there. Your skin, which is the closest to you. The breast of the woman, they are there. And then we're not going to talk about the lower part of the woman's body. We spoke about the vagina. And then that also is just the entrance. Of course, if you enter that class, I spoke about the myth also that says that it is the presence of the hymen that determines a woman's virginity. That is no longer applicable in 2022 because there are so many people. Again, these are some of the issues that could even raise mad issues. Somebody who had told you that she's never met with any man and now you got married, probably, I pray the devil is not playing games on you. You got into the marriage on the first night you were intimate, and then according to what you have always believed, that when somebody is virgin, there will always be a serious flow of blood. There are many hymen that are broken and there is no release of blood, which is why I wanted to talk about the fact that the breaking of the hymen is not a true test of virginity any longer for any woman. Okay, right? There are cases like that do happen, and God forbid that is the case of you and your spouse, and then 1 year, 2 years, she doesn't have a child. You might be forced to be having thoughts in your mind that maybe she lied to you. That was how she lied. She was a virgin. On the night of your wedding, nothing happened, and then so many thoughts can be built up here. So you need to educate yourself. You need to get the right information and stop living some fake. Stop living with some old wives' fables. That's what the Bible calls them, old wives' fables. We call them fabu. Fabu means things that are not real. Like somebody just said, Awolowo was flying in the skies and he was distributing handbills in those days. That never happened. That was just a fabu. Bible calls them fables. You don't want to live on those. And many young men are living with fables. Things they heard from people that were never verified. And they have built their marriages on these things that they even go to the extent of victimizing their wives. And then they've done so many things to so many because of this untrue information which they have had. Verify your information very properly. Where did you get information from? Is it science supported? Don't just base it on what your culture says. Because what is said in your culture might not be universally acceptable. Like the issue of virginity right now. It is not acceptable that you would think it is the absence of the hymen that says a woman is no longer a virgin. There are people who have not even touched the man, who have not been intimate with anybody, and the hymen is not there. There are many activities a lady can be engaged in that could cause to the damage or the breaking of the hymen. Again, this is another area where people need to caution their young children, both male and female. There are certain plays you tell them not to play. Somebody is eating your girl child in the stomach region below, a navel, a male child who is jumping up and down in the bathtub. If he breaks his scrotum, his testes, his testicles, if those things are damaged, he's done. And there are such incidences that do happen at home. They are domestic accidents, they do happen. So there's a need to properly educate this kid. The bathroom is not a place. In fact, the bathroom kills a lot of people, both old and young. There are many other people who slump, they die, they just eat their head in the bathroom, and that is it, they're gone. The bathroom is one of the most dangerous part of any house. So you need to tell people, exercise caution. You don't want to walk on a wet floor. If it's wet, if it's slippery, you want to be careful what you do there. And so even from that youthful age, you want to begin to educate the kids on what to do. So that is the first point, the vagina. Then we want to move on to the cervix. Okay, the cervix is the point between the vagina and the uterus. A lot of things would happen that people would think is not as important, but the fact is that cervix will serve two purposes. Number one is that it is a recipient of the sperm coming in before it is passed up into the uterus. And the second thing that the cervix will also serve, the second purpose is that when the child is going to be pushed out, it's still going to pass through that same channel. It's going to pass through that channel. So that is the second purpose of the cervix. Okay, so it's also a very important part of it. Then the uterus. And now, so every woman has got in the uterus. A lot of things could happen in the uterus that could lead to infertility. Two of the major causes, things that could happen. Number one is fibroid. The other one is ovarian cyst. It's becoming common and rampant. Those two, if they are present in the uterus, especially if they are on the fallopian tube. The fallopian tube runs across the uterus, then it runs into the two ovaries, one on the right, one on the left, right. So if there is a blockage either in the uterus or on the fallopian tube, the blockage could be caused by the growth of fibroid or a cyst. If that is also happening, it means that there will be no passageway for sperm cells to pass through for conception to take place. So there is a blockage. Another thing that could cause a blockage is if there is a scar, if there are scar tissues, like adhesion. This also would happen for people who had had any surgery around those particular areas of the uterus or the fallopian tube. If there are such scar tissues, they could cause a blockage. A blockage will lead to infertility, all right? So when you run a test, the test is supposed to reveal any of all of these. So when people come to me and talk about fertility and I ask the question, what test have you done? They say, we have done every test. Our doctor told us we have to do all of the tests, and we have done all the tests. And I began to ask further questions, and I discovered they have not even done 40% of the tests that they are supposed to do when it comes to the subject of fertility. So one of the tests you're supposed to do is to run it. Let's see, are the tubes open or they are blocked? Is the uterus okay or is having a growth? All right. Then the next place after the uterus, on top of the uterus, is what we call the endometrium. The endometrium is where the placenta grows. This is the exact place where eggs are fertilized. And then every month, let me not use the word every month, for every cycle of a woman, again, the story of the cycle of the woman also needs to be explained, but I'll probably talk about that when I talk about the ovaries, okay? In every cycle, when the egg is not fertilized, there is a shedding. It is the shedding that leads to what is called the menstruation or the menstrual period that could run between 3 to 5 days normally. For people who have below 3 days, or let me say 2 to 5 days, that's normal. For people who run below 2 and above 5, it is considered heavy and abnormal. So you want to consider all of those factors as well. Okay. So again, if a child is born, if fertilization occurs, that is where the placenta forms. And now, on the right and to the left of the endometrium, as an extension of the uterus, are the ovaries. So you have one on the right, one on the left. Now, right from the ovaries are like the factory where the eggs are released every month. The eggs are released, and the truth is that every woman has about 300,000 eggs. They cannot be increased, they cannot be decreased. At birth, that is the number of eggs that accompany every female child. Again, it's important to know if there's an anomaly. If there is, then you know that this woman is not having eggs or is not producing enough. As a woman is approaching menopause, the number of eggs decreases. And so at menopause, that is why there is no more menstruation. It's because there is no more production of eggs. One of the things I say to people is that if you are still having your period, of course, your period means a whole lot. If I still have the time today, I will talk about what to look out for your period for those people who are listening for the first time. Or you can just go down on our YouTube channel and go to look for previous videos on fertility and fibroid and fertility. It's about 4 videos. I broke it down there. You might want to go watch them and then see how to gauge your period or use your period to determine what is going on with your sexual or reproductive health. Okay? So if you are still having your period, it could be giving us some little hope or little chances. I know people who are 35, who are 36, who do not have their period anymore. I know somebody who is less than 30 who does not menstruate any longer. Maybe the last one she saw was when she was about 25. Okay? There are several reasons for this as well. But like I said, these are things to explore and check medically and know what exactly the problems are. And then they begin to provide solutions. And those that are, there is something they can do, then nothing can be done towards this problem. And then what are the next options? The next option could be surrogacy. We spoke about that last week on the program, that instead of this cryptic pregnancy, Surrogacy should be done in a way, in a place like Nigeria, where it is legalized and regulated. It should be standardized, okay? So that will run these fake people out of business. And then all the testimonies people share in church, people should be advised to give us the full gist and not half of the gist. 65-year-old woman coming back with 2 bouncing baby boy. Who did it? Jesus did it. We know he did it, but how did he do it? What methods were used? What was the process like? When you share the process, you are making that testimony to be duplicable. So it can be duplicated, it can be repeated. But when you don't share the process, you only share the final outcome. You kill that testimony with you and you alone. And that's what is happening. You leave many other women like yourself in the dark. I discovered that there is this thing about women. I'm sorry to say this, about women especially. You find women who don't even want to share with their fellow gender the cream they use. And they see them, your skin is glowing. What cream do you use? Say, oh, it's shea butter. That one too, we go and buy shea butter. And we'll be sharing the butter. As much as Jumoke, where do you make your braids? Oh, I know the ladies. Jumoke. I mean, it's a dangerous thing, because you make people believe I suffered to get this information. I suffered to get it, so you also must suffer the way I suffered to get there. What does it take away from you to share those things? And this is what has led to all of these testimonies that are shared. They just give you 10% of a testimony and they hide the remaining facts. And then people just grab towards them and they begin to pray. They begin to fall to the hands of so many fake pastors, fake practitioners, fake medical doctors who do all kinds of things because they know these people are desperate. It's the reason we are addressing this issue on this program. We need to shed more light, throw more light out there, let people know. All right. So a woman has 300,000 eggs throughout her lifetime. Then that is what she checks. And then it's one of the reasons we talk about the fact that when your child starts menarche early, you have a girl child who by the age of 8, 7, she's already growing breast, she's already starting her menstruation. You are working towards shortening her lifespan. You are going to shorten that girl's lifespan. So it's something to really pay attention to. It is not a sign of good living or good health. When a girl child at 7, at 8, is already growing breast, she's already starting her menstruation, it is not a good sign. Okay? All right, so the ovaries, probably in some cases, the eggs are not produced, or the eggs that are produced are also defective. Okay, so if they are defective, conception wouldn't take place. So there is an aspect of fertility in medicine that takes care of that. They will know, look at your eggs, check them, test how effective, how viral your eggs are. So we are able to have a complete diagnosis both on the side of the man and on the side of the woman. We check the sperm cells for the man, and then we ensure that it's able to release the right number. The cells are released in the right amount and the right quality. The quality and the quantity is checked for the cells, for the sperm cells. In the case of the woman, we check the passage, we check the accessories. And these accessories that I've mentioned, starting from the vagina, and then this also an issue with us in Africa, where female mutilation is still going on in so many parts of Africa, where women are mutilated in the case of in the name of circumcision. You know, they are terrible acts that we should discourage. With things going on right now, there are women who the trauma they went through is affecting them psychologically. It also affects their sexual health. So before such a woman is before you talk about fertility with such a woman, you first want to give her therapy because of what has been done to her. It is not just the vagina that has been damaged; something more than the vagina has been damaged in that woman. And so, whatever therapy, whatever care you are giving, you're only wasting your time. It could be the start-off point for such a person. So we talk about the accessories for a woman, and then it starts from the vagina. It talks about the cervix, talks about the fallopian tube, the uterus, the endometrium, and the 2 ovaries, which also will include the eggs, the egg cells of the woman. So all of these are the accessories in terms of a woman. And so these are the accessories. We check for those things. Now, some other things will control how effective those accessories are. And the most important of these things are the hormones. Women, we all, both men and women, we are all creatures of our hormones. Men also are directed or kind of impacted by our hormones. Women are impacted by the hormones a whole lot. A whole lot of hormones are involved when it comes to fertility. But two key hormones that we talk about mostly are the progesterone and the estrogen. Progesterone, estrogen, the two very serious hormones in women. Unfortunately, this is an unfortunate thing. Because of the impact and the effect of this hormone in every part of the woman's body, it could affect the kind of the skin, how the skin glows. That is why when a woman is pregnant, all kinds of things can occur. A woman that has a flat nose like my own can grow up during pregnancy to have a nose like the nose of an hippopotamus. You just see the hairs. Some people even some people even change their skin color. From a woman who is fair complexion can be dark in pregnancy. A woman, all kind of it tells you how these two hormones affect the entire body of the woman. So people who are in dermatology or cosmetology, skincare, they understand the effect and the impact of these two hormones. So they have been able to synthesize these hormones in so many other ways, and they are using it in products that people are using. What women don't know is that it has also a way to impact on the actual level of the hormones that is natural in their body and in their system. Jumoka is here. She is the skincare, natural skincare expert. You know, because some of these things that people put on their bodies could have go a long way to impact their hormones and also impact on their fertility chances. Okay, so two things. Sorry, I'm talking about the accessories now. The hormones, the two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Now, the two are also work like checks and balances for each other. One checks and one balances. They balance and check each other. And so at some point, of course, we know that the ratio should be 1:5. Estrogen should always be more than progesterone. Estrogen has a whole lot of function it does in the body, both for men and for women. But the ratio should be 1:5. But even at that, there is something called estrogen dominance. And dominance comes to play where something that should be at the ratio of 1:5 is at a ratio of 1:100. That one is an unfair domination. And that is something, again, that you want to look into when it comes to conception. It's something your doctor will want to look at. So when you run your test, the estrogen level, the progesterone level is also something that your doctor will want you to check and see what are those levels and what are the results saying to you. You want to check this result vis-a-vis other symptoms that you are seeing in your body. All right, so I will take a pause. Jumoke is here now. Why are you looking tired?
So I just wanted to quickly say that you mentioned something about what we put on our skin. What we put on our skin is also very important. When I was going to cosmetology school, not for hair now, cosmetology school for organic skincare, one of the things that he told us about essential oils is that essential oils have dermal limits. Okay. So prior to that, I really love essential oils, especially peppermint. So my hair care line is kind of minty. I would sniff peppermint, or sometimes like I would take it with me. I would spray it in my car, But then when I started going to school, they started telling us that all of these oils have dermal limits because they can actually travel into your blood. Yeah. And so they have limits. So each of these oils have the limits that you can use. So for people that are, there's a lot of people out there now doing so many natural products. There's so many self-taught natural product people.
Yeah. They'll tell you it's natural product, yeah.
And they will just mix different, mix different things together. But in school, they told us, especially there's a particular essential oil that I like is geranium, and they always tell us that you cannot use geranium more than 0.5%. And I have this friend that for some reason likes the smell of that geranium. So every time she asks me to make her like a body lotion, she will tell me in Yoruba, she'll be like, geranium emission ko consider that I'll be like and every time I'm like, this thing have them out limits. I can't just carry the bottle of geranium and then pour it into it. So my point is that we should, when we buy something off the shelf, we should even read the ingredient list. There are so many things that are not allowed in organic skincare. There's so many products that you cannot use in organic skincare. And they will tell you those things, these are the things that are not allowed, these are the things that are allowed. But when you pick on some people's products, and I look at the ingredients, I'm like, how is this even natural? How is this even organic? And also the things that we eat too, we also pay attention. I remember one time you said that we are the only human beings that still drink milk. And that statement was kind of funny to me, but when I sat down to think about it, I was like, it does really make sense, but most people don't see it like that. We just consume everything and anything. And we're like, you know what? So it's time that we need to start paying attention. We need to start paying attention to the thing that we consume, the thing that we put on our skin, the things that we even inhale, the things that we even inhale. I was out with somebody yesterday, and unfortunately I was riding in their car, and all of a sudden she brought out a cigarette. I reached into my bag and I wore my mask. And she was asking me, so why are you wearing the mask? I said, because we are smoking together, even though it's going into your mouth. I'm inhaling it, So we have to be careful, and we have to be conscious. As regards childbirth, you have said like some of the problem too. I've seen cases where there's nothing wrong with the man, there's nothing wrong with the woman, but they are waiting on God. And they're waiting 20, 25 years, waiting so long. And waiting, and I always tell, it's a sensitive issue, especially when it comes to, somebody trying to get pregnant. There's a limit. I feel like there's a limit to how you can advise them because it's sensitive. And I'm saying to myself, why are these people not even considering IVF? Why are they not considering adoption? Why are they not, there's some things that God will not come from heaven to give to us.
Surrogacy is there as well, yeah?
Surrogacy is there as well. People will not consider it. And I think for us Africans, it's mostly, like I said 2 Saturdays ago, it's mostly a cultural thing. Because at the end of the day, they will shame you. They will be like, you're not strong enough. Oh, why are you not able to have your own child? Why are you not able to? But this is like the 23rd century. We are no longer in the 21st century. We have gone past the 21st century where we need to start using our senses. We need to start thinking. Yeah, exactly. We've gone past all that stage right now that there's so many alternatives. There's so many alternatives right now. So what's the point of you suffering and you're praying, you're fasting, you're doing? I'm not saying there's nothing. God, I tell people, God is a miracle worker, but it's not a
what God cannot do does not exist.
Yes, what God cannot do. I believe that. I believe it. But there's so many answers that God has given us that we don't even know that.
Yeah.
We received our answer already. But we are still praying.
Jumoke, I think that's one of the things people should understand. It's your prerogative to pray.
Mm-hmm.
It is for God to answer.
However, God has even answered.
How he will answer is not for you to determine.
Exactly. I don't know
how. Some answers are no, some are yes, and some are wait.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay? But in the African Christianity, we pray and we want to tell God how he must answer us, the method, the way, everything we want to. That is manipulation.
Yes.
It means that we are robbing God of his sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. He is God Almighty. If you think he's God Almighty, he can decide to send rain. The rain can come from the ground, and he can say it should come from the sky. That's his choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So go ahead. We're talking about that aspect of surrogacy. We have about 1 more minute to go.
Yeah. So it's an open option that I feel like people have to start considering now.
Right.
It's gone are the days of we have to wait 10, 15 years and we are praying and we are fasting and we are still waiting for God to answer. When God has already answered, but you are the one that has failed to receive the request to that prayer. We are still, recently I was telling my mom, I said, people that don't give birth to children, when they die, it is children that would bury them. The ones that have children, it's the same children that will bury them. The ones that don't have, it's still children that will bury them. The fact remains that when you close your eyes and you have gone, you have gone. You don't know what is going on. You don't know whether it's a child that buried you or maybe it's a dog that ate you.
True.
You don't know. So I feel like, I don't know. Right now, especially amongst Christians, is that we have to reassess the kind of Christianity that we are practicing. Because I don't know what we are practicing now. What is it that we are practicing? We have to reassess it, go back and read the Bible and really understand what the Bible says, not what they told us. Because so many people are living their life based off of what they were told, not what the Bible meant.
Yeah, I would say true.
Yeah, one time I was trying to stir controversy not stir controversy. I was kind of just making just of some elderly women in my church that I used to go to when I was in New York, and it was about head covering and wearing trousers and all of that. And then this mommy comes in, and her hair was uncovered, and I see her. She was struggling in her bag. She was looking for scarf. I said, "Mommy, take it easy. Take it easy." And she was clearly wearing trousers. She was wearing a tight jeans. I said, "Mommy, hey, but you are wearing trousers now, but you are looking for scarf."
Imagine that.
I said, "Why? What's the reason why you're looking for the scarf?" So we have to go back and assess our Christianity, because especially for those of us that was brought up in Africa, it's like they mix culture and they mix it with the Bible to train us. So we've gotten to the point where we cannot differentiate between culture and what actually the Bible says. And we use culture to apply what the Bible says. So we have to we have to reorientate ourselves. There's no reason why now somebody should be waiting 10, 15, 20 years for the fruit of the womb.
It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason. Thank you very much, Moke. Thank you very much. That is where we are going to bring the show to an end today. Thank you very much. Like you said, and I do agree with that, there is no reason anybody should be waiting 10, 20 years, saying that by the time you have waited 10, 20 years, probably you're about 35, 40 years. Where is the strength or the energy to even raise the child? Imagine that. You've already wasted the energy on waiting when you could have done something. I think you are being selfish, no matter the excuses you may have, because like I said, there are several kids out there. They want love, they want care. Go adopt one, take care of that child, and let that child live. Thank you very much, Mrs. Eka Adebanjo, for joining us today. You have a question here. What happened to someone that had a child and couldn't get pregnant again? Again, that is a serious problem, a good question. That question could happen I will mention two cases that may likely be responsible for that. There is something called the resource factor that has to be taken care of. So if the couple have on both sides of the resource factor, which could be positive or negative, there is a need, there is something the doctors should do actually almost after the child has been delivered. Depending on who is taking care of you, in fact, it could be after any pregnancy that woman gets in, because the next sperm she takes in will be viewed as an intruder into the person's system, and the person will the body will fight against it, develop antibody, and push out the sperm. So there will be nothing called conception for that person. But all this is also one reason your doctor cannot be treating you in isolation of your spouse. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You can't be pregnant by yourself. So why are they treating you alone and your husband is not showing up? If you come to my practice and you present yourself and your husband can come, I will send you away. You are only don't waste my time. Okay, so both of you should be present. That is one reason. Second reason is this: what happened during the first birth of that child? You also want to know of the first pregnancy. Could anything that happened during that period that could have affected or impacted on the ancestry of the woman? So I talk about the ancestry. I refer to all the parts of the woman's reproductive system that I spoke about earlier on. With anything that happened, which is very possible, like I said, If was that a surgery? Anything could have happened. So we want to do investigation and ask. I've seen such cases where after one child, it became nearly impossible for the woman to conceive a second time. Again, that a man did it the first time does not mean that it becomes automatic for him to do it again and again. I repeat, that a man did it the first time does not mean it becomes automatic for him to be able to do it again. Because these are the questions that your fertility doctors or your gynecologist will ask you. Okay, your husband is, so they will just assume, since he was able to impregnate you once, then everything about him is correct. That is not true. Anything could have happened between the first pregnancy and now to the man himself that could have impacted on his ability to produce sperm cells that in the right quality and in the right quantity to bring about fertilization. So at every point in time, if there's a concern on fertility, the two people involved, the couple, should be tested. That would be my advice. Thank you so much for that question, Mr. Kadebanjo. Thank you. We women don't like us. You women don't like yourselves. Please, women should like themselves and do what they need to do. Thank you. We will come again your way next week. By next week, I would expect other members of the gang to be here with us on the show. All right. And so next week, we will continue on how to get pregnant. So by next week, now I'll be giving you practical and natural approaches that can help solve some of the problems that I know that can be solved. And where in the case those problems cannot be solved, it's like, okay, we can't do anything about this one. Like Jumoke said, some of the things you can actually do is to think about other options, adoption, IVF, surrogacy, and other options you want to think about. And God could just smile on you while you are waiting for that miracle. God could smile on you and bring about what you are looking for and do what only himself, only God could have done. Remember I said earlier on, don't just share the testimony, share the process. It's a process that is important. On this note, we'll draw the curtain for today. Thank you for being a part of this broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Have a pleasant week ahead of you. If you still have some weekend to spend, enjoy the rest of your